This story happened when I was about 17 years old. I was dating a 20-year-old on and off boyfriend at the time. He was one of these guys who liked drinking alcohol and hanging out with the wrong crowds, and often would get into trouble with the law. I always knew he was not the person I want to be with, but he knew how to manipulate me and to get my attention whenever I tried to leave him. He also had an ex-girlfriend who was harassing me by calling my home phone or waiting for me after I leave school, just to call me names. Now to the story. It was spring. I was already broken up with that guy, and I was preparing for my math exam, and had to take some extra lessons because my math wasn't the best subject I took. I knew I had to work harder if I wanted to pass my exam. One morning at about 7 a.m. I received a call on my home phone. I didn't have a mobile phone at the time, and someone on the other end was just whispering something so quiet that I could not understand. So I hung up, thinking nothing of it, and went back to sleep. But a few minutes later the phone rings again. I answer, and as I listen, I hear someone crying and repeating my name. I said, "Hello, who is this?" At this point I was already freaking out. I thought maybe some of my family members got in an accident and were trying to reach me. I heard a man's voice which wasn't familiar, and he said, "Is this Jess?" I said, "Yes, it's me. Who is this?" The man started saying something about my ex-boyfriend and that he needs to see me right now because he slit his wrist and he tried to kill himself and I have to come. He used to cut himself when he was depressed sometimes, so I believed it. I was so confused, scared, and so many images went through my mind. I was so naive at the time that without much thinking I said I'll be there as soon as possible. I thought I'll go there, we can talk, and I'll call an ambulance. I just knew I had to do something. The man gave me an unfamiliar address where I should arrive, and he said he'll pay for the taxi. It was a red flag, and I felt something bad about this was going to happen, but I'm mostly worried if my ex-boyfriend was okay, and what condition he was in. I was planning to go see my teacher after that, so I took my book bag with me. I arrive, and some strange man greets me and said to hurry up, so I followed. As soon as I walked in, I could smell a strong alcohol smell, and the man locked the door quickly. I asked where my ex was, and he said to come into the room. His face changed from worried to creepy, and he was grinning at me as I walked into the room. Then my heart just stopped. I saw 4 more men sitting there and drinking. My ex-boyfriend wasn't anywhere, and I started to shake uncontrollably. Men were sitting there laughing at me, saying how dumb I was to believe it was my ex-boyfriend. I was so scared that I couldn't scream or even say a word anymore. All I could think was I'm going to be raped or killed. I made my way to the door, and the guy sitting on the couch jumped quickly, grabbed my arm, and pinned me to the ground, saying I'm not leaving until they say so. I started crying and begging them to let me go, that I would have to be meeting my teacher for my math lesson, and she will be looking for me if I don't show up. They laughed at me and said that I had to prove that I'm really going to a lesson, so I took out all my notes from my bag and started showing them. I had some hope that they would let me go, but I was very wrong. They started kicking me in the legs, and one of the guys was standing in front of me with the hammer in his hands. They forced me to dance in the middle of the room for them, and if I don't do what they say, I will be hit with the hammer. I cried and did what they said. I don't want to go into all details and conversations because it's too painful to remember. As they got bored, they said they were going to go play poker, and if a particular guy wins a game, it means I can leave, but if the other guy wins, then I have to stay and entertain them and do whatever they wanted. They were playing a game with my life. I was just sitting there, crying and praying and looking around to find anything that would help me escape. I almost lost my hope, and then there was a knock at the door. I thought to myself, that's it! Someone is here and I can scream for help. I did scream, but the guy who answered the door started laughing again. I was in total disbelief when I saw the girl who was dating my ex previously coming into the room. She was obviously drunk and angry, and she kept telling me that what a nice plan she had made to lure me here and that I'm going to suffer now. I overheard her asking the guys to take me somewhere to a remote area, rape me, and leave me there naked. I was paralyzed with fear and thought I'm going to make it out alive under no circumstances. The guy still kept playing poker and drinking, and the guy with the hammer who sat next to me started to fall asleep. So I thought it might be the only chance I could escape. I asked one of the guys if I can go to the kitchen to get some water and wash my face because it was all swollen because I was crying. And surprisingly, he said yes. Go wash your ugly face, bitch, and bring me more beer from the fridge. I slowly stood up because I didn't want to wake the guy with a hammer. Nobody likes hammers. And I walked to the kitchen. I opened the tap so it masked the other sounds and opened the window. I never felt so relieved in my life. I climbed out the window by climbing onto the table at first, and I jumped and ran as fast as I could. I reached a small post office, which was the only public place that I saw while running away. I was shaken and I was in total shock. There was a lady who called the police and I was safely returned home. I don't know what happened to any of them, but I never heard from them again. I'm just relieved that I escaped without major injuries. After this experience, I never trust anyone anymore, and never answer any unknown numbers or talk to any stranger. I needed a psychologist to help me for a while as I developed anxiety. I never slept well after this, and it's been 15 years after this incident. I live in a different country now, but I will never forget this experience. Thanks for listening to this scary story. If you enjoyed, please subscribe and like the video as I am transitioning from a gaming channel at the moment. So if there are any bugs and obstacles that I'm trying to jump over, I apologize for that, and I also apologize for the poor quality of this video as I'm getting used to this. If you were wondering, I am a girl, but I really did enjoy making gaming videos, and now I'm enjoying horror since I have quit gaming since. Anyways guys, this has been my first mediocre horror video, and thank you so much for watching. Goodbye. Sleep tight.